All right, everybody, let's finish this series up with the fourth film, Victor Crowley, 2017, and we got Adam Green again in the director's chair, and we have Parisienne returning again, who I keep saying I absolutely love, reprising his role from the third film as Andrew Young. And we have Laura Ortiz, who plays Rose. God, she is gorgeous, man. I love her so much in this. We have David Sheridan as Dillon, which, when I first saw this movie, maybe the first few viewings, second viewing or so, the humor in this movie just, I don't know, it wasn't hitting for me. Same with like the second movie. And like Dillon's character, I just couldn't get into really, but after a few viewings, man, something just changed. I don't know. He just really grew on me, that character, man, and I find him hysterical now. Absolutely hysterical. And we also have Felissa Rose, who just did the Sleepaway Camp franchise, and man, that last film, man, and so good to see her in something that's actually entertaining and good. And she's hysterical in this too. She has so many great lines. We have Brian Quinn from the show Impractical Jokers, which I used to love that show. I actually met all four of them because they're from like Long Island and Staten Island and stuff. They're at a mall here in Long Island, and I ran into them. They were shooting an episode. Nice ass people, man. Funny as hell. And then we have Chase Williamson as the boyfriend. I forgot his name. I wrote it down somewhere, but I always remember him as David Wong from John Dies at the End. Such a cool movie. The novel is even better. I read the book years ago. Awesome book and movie. So we have the opening scene where the couple is they're in Honey Island Swamp, and the guy plans on asking her to marry him, and she's freaking out, and it's such a disgusting scene, man. She's crying, and her whole face is just like tears, and then she goes to kiss him and like spit in the saliva, like dude, it's fucking sick, man. It's so disgusting. And they run into some guy after hearing Crowley's daddy call, and they run to this random guy who tells them, you shouldn't be here, and then immediately gets decapitated by Crowley. And then the boyfriend gets his like hatchet in the side of the face, his eye pops out. It looks good, and that one's cool. Nothing great. But then the girl's kill is awesome. Like, she just gets knocked to the ground, and he just hatches off both legs, both of her arms, and then just her head. Awesome kill. A very cool opening. Now, I will say, I can see why some people don't like this sequel, because it definitely has a lower budget than the others, like for sure, you can tell. And they spend too much time on the plane. Again, probably, definitely because of budgetary reasons. But I don't know, this movie just works for me so well. Like I said, after the second, third viewing maybe, I just completely changed my opinion on this movie, and now it is my favorite movie in the franchise, like tied with the first one. The first one, if I'm in the mood for more serious, even though it has a lot of comedy in it, but a more horror, esque, like a lot more horror, first one I think is better. If it's more just a fun watch, this movie. And we get the story of Crowley yet again from some creepy young girl who's telling the story. Like, we heard this 3-4 times already, so there's really no need for that. And we have Andrew Young, played by Parisienne again, and he is the sole survivor of the massacre at Honey Island Swamp in the third film 10 years ago, so this is a decade afterwards. And he wrote a book about it, and I love how he's claimed that he killed Crowley himself, and that others think that he's the killer, but he was cleared of all the charges and everything, like almost a decade ago or something like that. And he's on his ex-wife's show. She's like a talk show host, Sabrina, her name is, I think. And I love what he says, that he was cleared of all the charges. Like, one woman starts clapping. And he goes to say thank you, and then notices it's one girl, and he's like, ma'am, thank you, ma'am. Funny, man. And we also have Chloe, her boyfriend Alex, who plays David Wong in John Dies at the End, and their friend Rose, who I said I absolutely adore in this movie. She is so adorable, and she has some funny lines too, man. A lot of people with funny lines in this movie, but Dillon by far the funniest in this movie, man. Like I said, I could see him either completely not working for people, like it didn't for me really the first few viewings, but hysterical. He's so funny in this. And they are making a movie based on the Crowley murders. And so they try to meet Andrew at his book signing and to ask him to be in the trailer for the film. That way they can get the money up for it. Felissa Rose plays his publicist, and she just has so many great lines in this movie, man. She's so funny. When he asks her about the book and everything like that, and said, "Did you even read it?" And she asks this to Sabrina too, and they both say the same thing. It's on my list. That's funny. Funny stuff. Another thing with her, he's just saying, she's like, "And just make your money and you go back to Japan and you can just live out the rest of your days." She's like, "I'm Chinese." And "Are you sure?" Funny shit, man. This movie has some really good humor in it. Like I said, for me, it just works so well. Just like the first movie. The second one, third one didn't really work comedic-wise for me, but this movie's hysterical to me. I crack up every time I see this movie, and Dillon is the biggest reason for that. And we are seeing the book signing, and there's a big dick like drawn in front of the picture of Andrew, and like his name of the book is I Survivor, and someone crossed it out and put I Murderer. It's fun. Then Felissa Rose comes out, and another funny thing, and she just takes some post-it notes, and she just 1, 2, this is a big one, 3, and puts 3 post-its over the dick. She's like, all good, we're all good now. Funny stuff. And then this girl comes up to him and says, "Can you sign my tits?" And like lifts her tits out. It's like, "Can you sign one for me and one for my dad?" Oh man, that's so weird. And then we get another guy who comes up and pulls his dick out and just puts it on the table and says, "Yeah, I want you to sign my cock." And he's like, I don't sign those. And he's like, "What are you, a homophobe?" He's like, "I'm going to tell everyone on the Facebook that you're a homophobe." Funny stuff. And then they end up getting a call. Felissa Rose, the publicist, gets a call saying that they have an offer to be on Real Crime Show or something like that, and they want Andrew to go back to Honey Island Swamp on a plane and just do an interview with him. And she says that they offered $600,000, and he said, "Still no way." And he starts walking away. "There's no fucking way I'm going back there." And she said, "But I got him up to $1 million." And then you just have that scene we've seen in so many movies where it's like, "I absolutely am not doing that." And then next scene, they're doing it. Like, so many movies do that. They have that in recently when I did Devil's Rejects. There's no fucking ice cream in your fucking future. And then you're just licking the ice cream cones. It's so overused, just like the line that's been in all 4 of these movies. But I don't know, still funny a little bit to me. And then they get on the plane, and Felissa Rose has like a huge container, like fucking big, man, like just with every pill under the sun. She's like, "You want anything? I got Xanax, Ambien, Valium, like all this shit." She lists off, and she's like, "If you need stronger stuff, I got that too." She's like, "I get stressful when I do stuff." Funny shit. I keep saying it. It cracks me up, this movie. And then the kills are mostly great, even with the lower budget. Really cool stuff. And then he finds out that he doesn't know who's interviewing him, and he finds out it's Sabrina, his ex-wife, who he just had a terrible interview with on her show at the beginning. And we have another Adam Green cameo as the pilot. And it's fun and nice to see him, as always, in his little cameos in this series. And we have Chloe, Alex, and Rose that meet Dillon. And he starts off with these impressions. He's doing De Niro from a Taxi Driver. He's like, "Are you looking at me?" And like, the voice was like, "Pretty sure it's talking." He's like, "Are you looking at me?" Yeah, again, it's talking. Funny, man. He's so funny in this. And then he does Christopher Walken. I'm Christopher Walken. But he asks him beforehand, like, "Guess who this is?" Oh man, it's hysterical shit. And he's a private tour guide, and he's going to take them into the swamp and so they can film this trailer for their movie. And I love how he hits on Rose, and he like grabs her hand to kiss it, and she's like, "I have a dick." Dude, so hysterical. Like, it's great. Like, the first half of this movie is just straight comedy. Like, and it just works so well for me. Like I said, but I can see it not working for other people. Like, absolutely, 100%. It's very split. And I know people who absolutely love this movie and it's their favorite in the franchise. And I know people who think it's the worst one in the franchise. So it's a very mixed film, you know, review-wise and people's taste-wise. But I fucking love this movie so much. And then we have Quinn, from the guy from Impractical Jokers, says, "You really saw that Vincent Crosby guy?" And he goes, "That's funny." And then we get another callback line that we got in the last movie to the first movie with Perry Jen's characters. It says, "Yeah, it's hilarious." Another running gag. Like, the running gags in this series are great, man. And they're really, really cool stuff. And the plane engine explodes and crashes into the Honey Island swamp. And at the same time, we get a charred, just like burnt to death, like charred. You see his like skeleton and everything. Corpse just falls from the plane to the ground, right where Chloe and the boyfriend and Rose are. And another hysterical thing from Dillon, man. He just goes, "All right, everybody stand back," and he checks his pulse. He's dead. Fucking funny, man. It's so good. It's so good. He's such a great character. I don't know, man. It just clicked for me on after a few views. I don't know why I didn't find him funny in the first few viewings, but fucking hysterical. And Felissa Rose is passed out, like drugged up and stuff, and slept through the whole plane crash. That's ridiculous, but it's funny. Young looks back and sees her, and she's just like snoring in the seat. That's funny. And that's where we get our line again. You know it by now. You can say it with me. You gotta be fucking kidding me. Such an like I said in the last review, such an overused line in film and just in general. There's so many movies use that shit. But for this series, it's like their little running quote that they have in all the films, though it works. And Dillon and Rose come up to the plane and find all the survivors of the plane crash. And they come in. They say that the door doesn't open from the outside, so they open the door for them, let them in. And Dillon again just go, "All right, listen up. Your plane has crashed." Oh man, I can't with him. He's so funny. And, they couldn't get that poor pregnant woman out of there. Come on, like, they didn't even really do anything. Like, Dillon was the only one, and Austin, the guy from Practical Jokers, Quentin, were the only two trying to help this woman. Like, they couldn't have thought of anything, really, like anything to get this poor pregnant woman from not drowning to death. Like, that shit's sad, man. Like, that kind of affected me. I was like, oh, that sucks, man. They didn't do shit to get her out of there. Fucking, Austin says that he has tools on his boat and that he can run and grab them, but like, they're trapped on the plane, and Crowley appears and everything, so he can't do it. And another great, this is so funny. And before she drowns and stuff, like, Dillon's holding her hand and she's calling for her boyfriend Austin, and he's like, "Listen, I don't know how to tell you this. Austin's dead." And he sticks his head out. He's like, "Dude, I'm right here." He's like, "Austin's alive." Fucking hysterical. Like, I can't say it enough how funny this movie is. Like, this is just such a fun watch. Like, seriously, so much fun, so much laughter, so much awesome gore and everything. Such a fun movie, man. That's like the best word I can describe this sequel. It's just straight out fucking fun. And it is so good to watch. And they Rose tries bringing up on her phone the curse that originally brought Victor Crowley back to life. And they're scrolling through YouTube and trying to see all these different people reciting the curse. And they end up having a little cameo from Tony Todd as Reverend Zombie, that he must have recorded this 15 fucking years ago, or longer than that. Which I'm even thinking, actually, 2017 this came out, so if it was 15 years, yeah, they had YouTube back then. Like in its infancy or like early years, yeah, they had YouTube. And how did that opening scene happen then? That I never understood. We see in the last movie at the end, and, Mary Beth kills him by, he melts into a skeleton. She blows him away after putting the ashes on his head. So he's been dead for the last 10 years, and they say that there's been no incidents in the swamp or anything like that. And the voodoo curse that they play off the phone is what brings him back to life here. So then how did we get that opening scene with the kills, with the boyfriend and girlfriend, with the engagement and stuff? That never made sense to me at all. So it was like, how was he alive then? Unless, like, the dozens of times I've seen this movie, I keep missing something that says, like, this happened, like, whatever years earlier or something like that. But there's no fucking way I missed that all these times. That doesn't make any sense to me. Never did. And then we got Alex and Chloe here, Crowley's daddy call, and they hide in the Crowley shed with the motion sensor light going on and off, and Crowley just comes out from the darkness and hops on Alex and grabs a hammer off the shelf and turns it around to the sharp part and just sticks him in the eye and just repeatedly just beats him in his fucking face, man, and then sticks it like right up through his chin, and then like pulls and his head flies off and blood squirts out. Awesome kill. Really good kill. Looks really good. And like I said, for the lower budget this movie has, the practical effects and the kills look pretty damn good. They really do. Like, I'll say they don't look as good as the first movie and some of them through the rest of the series, but some of them do look very, very good. They did a very good job with the budget they were working with for this movie. And another funny ass thing, man. Dillon tries kicking the window open, and then Austin's just like, asshole, there's a window open over there. Oh, funny. And then he says, yeah, but the cell tower's on that side. Like, I know the area. Great stuff. And then Dillon wants a kiss from Rose. He says, I'll go get, if Crowley came up and smashed Chloe's face through the window and broke it open right after that window discussion. And she has the glass sticking out of her face. Looks cool. And then he drags her off like 20 feet from the plane and tries to use her as bait to get him out of the plane. And Dillon says, I'll go out there and get her. And to Rose, and she says, it's my best friend. He's like, you got to promise me. If I come back here, I just want a kiss. And she gives him one right then and there. She's like, if you come back after saving my best friend, I'll fucking marry you. And he's like, you're the most beautiful thing I've ever seen, even if you have a dick. And they all look at her and she's like, I don't have a dick. He's like, something from earlier. Everyone in this movie has just like at least one or two funny lines, and it totally works. And we have Felissa Rose's character. This is probably absolutely my favorite in this movie, and I said in my first Hatchet review that the ripping the older lady's mouth open and the tongue twitching and everything is my favorite kill in the franchise. This one is my second. By far. This is just such a sick kill. And she's freaking out. I can't be on here anymore. And she has the phone in her hand and she runs out of the plane. And then Austin sticks his head out and says, where are you going? And he gets just sliced on the top of his head and it falls down. His brain rolls out. Cool. It looks good. Nothing crazy or anything like that. But then we get Felissa Rose kill, and she runs from the plane, and Crowley catches up with her and rips her arm right out of her socket that had the phone in it and shoves it right up her vagina and just all the way out of her mouth, and the phone still in her hand. Fucking awesome. Like, so good. What a great kill. That is so fucking awesome. And like I said, that's my favorite in this movie, my second favorite in the franchise. Such a great kill. If I had to think of like the third favorite, my top three, I don't know, probably Reverend Zombies in the second movie when he gets fucking ripped with spine and ripped out of his skin and stuff. That's probably my third favorite. But awesome kill. And then We have Chloe that's still on the ground and she's breathing still, and they're looking from the plane, and Crowley just lifts his boot up and just smashes it into her face, and like from here up is just like a fucking hole, and you can still see her mouth and her tongue twitching and stuff like that, and he lifts his boot up and it's all fucking sticky and stuff. Great kill, very good kill. And he finds out, Young finds out that he wasn't getting no fucking $1 million. And he was getting 25 grand. That's fucked up. Man, for Phyllis Rose's character, the publicist, to say that, to get him out there, fucking $1 million. Come on. And why would she do that? Like, why? I don't get that. Why would she say that she got him $1 million if it's only 25 grand? Just to get him out there to do this interview? Like, that's weird. That makes no sense. And we have the Rose ends up calling Sabrina Discount Oprah. I think that's funny as shit. Young, she mentions that Andrew has a band, or had a band called Haddonfield. Nice little Halloween reference there. And again, I wrote here just too much time on the plane. And like I said, I know it's for budgetary reasons, but I wish we saw them running around the swamp and stuff more. And the swamp looks really pretty good when they get out there and stuff. Like I said in the first movie, the review for it, they never captured that atmosphere, in my opinion, since the first movie. Like, everything just looks, the swamp, the trees, everything just looks so still. There was no wind blowing anything, and it just had this creepy alien like feeling to it. Like, they never captured that atmosphere again for me with like the sets and stuff like that. But second one, no, not the second one, the third one actually, it looks kind of similar, but it's still nowhere near as good-ish. I don't know. Another line from Dillon that he says, like, when they're talking about how Rose says that she had the YouTube playing with all the different curse videos, the voodoo curse that they were trying to recite to bring for the trailer that brings Crowley back to life. And Dillon just says, I have a YouTube channel. I got 86 subscribers. And he points at the plane at Chloe, and he's like, well, 85 now. Dude, that's so funny. I have a dark sense of humor, man, let me tell you. And I love stand-up comedy, like Doug Stanhope and Anthony Jeselnik are my favorite living comics today. Dark black humor, man. And that type of shit is right up my alley. And Crowley tries getting through the door with a belt sander that he uses in all these movies, his famous little belt sander. And he accidentally ends up turning the power back on, which I don't know how that works, but power's back on. Dillon tries getting the engine running, and they have a plan to try to push Crowley through the jet engine, shredding him to pieces. And that's their plan to get rid of Crowley once and for all, which we know is not going to happen. I hope we get a Hatchet 5, and I don't think I've heard anything about it. I've heard rumors over the years, but like nothing recently. Like, I gotta look that up actually now and see if there's any new news on that. And the three of them, Rose and Andrew and Sabrina, leave out of the hole in the plane in the back, and they escape from the plane. They tell Dillon to stay in the cockpit, so he's calling for help. And he keeps saying, like, on the radio, he starts off with it, this is General Dillon McMaster. It's like, we need help in Honey Island Swamp. And then they cut away for something, and then it comes back to him. He's like, this is First Lieutenant, like, military leader, fucking Dillon McMaster the second. And we fucking hilarious, man. I don't know how people, I mean, like I said, I could see it, but I don't know, man. Like, I don't know how people can't find him funny, like, in a way. But for me, hysterical, so funny. And then we get Sabrina's death, and I could not stand her character in this movie. Like, what a terrible fucking person. What an annoying character. And nowhere near Alan in fucking Return to Sleepaway Camp, I could tell you that right now. And she gets decapitated, which we've seen so many times, but this actually has a cool little touch to it. Like, her head rolls away, but it's a POV shot, and we see it roll and stuff, and the camera's facing Crowley, and then like the lights flicker and like the lighting goes out, and then it fades to black, like showing like her consciousness fading out. That's a cool touch for a decapitation scene. And then we have the ending, and Dillon just looks at Rose, and the Crowley's in front of the jet engine and almost being sucked into it after they miss terribly with like 2 flare gun shots, and Rose tries throwing the hatchet at him, and it just like plops to the ground in front of him. And Dillon looks over to Rose and says, "I would have had your babies," and boop, and touches her on the nose. And he runs into Crowley, and they both get sucked into the jet engine and fucking shredded, incinerated in there. Then we just have the 2, Rose and Andrew, just sitting on the ground in disbelief for what just happened. And then we just have Andrew go, "Fuck," and credits again. Like, just the way every movie in this series just ends just so abruptly after something crazy is so cool. Then we get the mid-credit sequence with the news reports on what happened in the plane crash and everything like that, and then saying that they found bodies all over the place, and it's very unlikely that they would have been thrown all from the plane. And we see that somebody's watching it, and it turns out to be Mary Beth Dunstan, Danielle Harris, making her little cameo here, and she says, "I've been waiting for you, motherfucker." End. Such a fun franchise, such a great, fun movie this one is. But, I mean, Adam Green, man, I mean, he was able to make just an iconic modern slasher, you know, with Victor Crowley. Like, I can't think of many modern slasher icons like that. Like, hardly any. Maybe Art the Clown from Terrifier and All Hallows Eve, and they have Terrifier 2 is supposed to come out this year now after a lot of delays, so I've been waiting for that movie for a while. But he's maybe the only other one I can think of. Art the Clown, Victor Crowley, that's really it. Like, I can't think of any, like, it's from, like, especially the last, like, 20 years or so. I can't think of any others besides those 2. If anyone else can think of, like, a, you know, iconic horror slasher that in the last 20 years or so, leave it in the comments, because I want to either trigger my memory and say, "Oh, that's right, yeah, him," or just maybe I've never seen it, which is I doubt, but those are the only 2 I can think of. So Hatchet series is done. I don't know what I'm gonna do next. I'm thinking of doing some Fulci films. Actually, I was browsing through that, or since I did Insidious, I just looked on Tubi yesterday, and they just put up Insidious 3 and The Last Key. Can't find 2 on there, so I'm sure I can find it somewhere else. So maybe I'll knock those out too. I was interested, like I said in that review, to go back and see the sequels, since it's been years, like since they came out, and like a viewing after that. And when I watched Insidious for the review, like I actually enjoyed it much more than I ever did in the past. So I'm interested to see those. So either some Fulci or the Insidious franchise will probably be coming tomorrow. So have a good night, everybody, and take care.